Okay, so as Madam rightly put it, the the objective of the whole model research methodology workshop is not to make you big scientists. Okay, we have a very humble objective of bringing out a protocol at the end of the session. It's a humble objective, but I think it's a very noble objective. It's a very learner oriented objective. So my session today is also going to be very focused on protocol writing. Searching literature is a very broad area. It extends to systematic reviews. So for people who have heard of systematic reviews, that's the other end. But we are going to start from the very beginning. So if you have any apprehension about, see, I don't know about this, this is all new to me, don't worry. I have named the session Searching for Dummies. You understand? Searching for Dummies. So what I am trying to do here is introduce you to journal articles. Just introduce you, like what is it all about? How does it look like? How to read it? And teach you a few terminologies. You might call it scientific jargon, but if you know these terminologies, it is easy to review the literature. And what to search for when you are writing a thesis protocol. So I'm going to tell you what to search for using your search strategies. How will you search with the objective of writing a thesis protocol? So I have named the whole session Searching Literature for Dummies. So this is meant for people who don't know anything. Okay. So if you during your UG days, or if you are already exposed to, you might find certain things very simple and silly, but forgive that. This is meant for the people. We are going to start from scratch. That is all I want to say. Okay. So generally, these are the components of any proposal. Okay, not just thesis proposal. There is a Vidya VS. Please stop touching the screen. Okay, if you're using a pad, if you're using a not using a laptop, don't touch the screen. Okay. Okay. So components of any research proposal is title, introduction, objectives, review of literature, methodology, ethical consideration, references, and annexures. These are the components. So if you look at the Kuhas protocol, it will have these headings. Okay, so finally at the end of the day, you have to fill in these headings and write something below each. So that's what you're trying to do. One, why you should do research topics. So if you are if I know that you're all been busy with COVID and you never had the time, even the time to think about a research topic. So first and foremost, if you're like totally blank, you're starting on a clean slate, this review of this literature search will help you find a research topic. Okay, so you are just going blind. You are a medicine PG and you thought, okay, let's see what I can what topic I can choose. Then you go and type tuberculosis. Okay. Then in the next sessions, probably Devraj is going to teach you about how to use a search engine and find which all the articles were published in the recent past, like maybe like last 2 years and last 5 years. So if you refine your search strategy, you can always find out what people in India have been studying about tuberculosis in the past few years. Okay, so this is just for a beginning. Okay, so you go through tuberculosis, you didn't find much anything interesting, so you go and start searching for diabetes. Okay, then you move on to obstructive sleep apnea. Then you're in ophthalmology, you want to do something on retinal detachment or diabetic what is that? Complications of ophthalmic complications of diabetes, something like that. So if you are a novice and you have not started anything, this searching literature will help you find a research topic. So suppose you found tuberculosis and diabetes interesting, you then you can go to the next level of refining a research topic. Okay, so you thought you will study something with diabetes and TB. Hmm. Okay, so you have now diabetes and TB, and you want to refine your research topic to something even better. So you start searching, and you will find that what all people have done about diabetes and TB. Okay, so in diabetes and TB, there are so many things that you can learn. Like you can find the proportion of diabetes in newly incident cases of tuberculosis. Like there are X number of tuberculosis patients every year. How many of them are diabetics? Okay, or you can find that of all the diabetic patients, how many have TB? So that's a slightly different research question. Okay, so you read about that, and you finally started finding the fact that if you are a diabetic patient, the sputum conversion happens later than a person with normoglycemic status. So you started thinking maybe this diabetes is complicating the outcome of TB treatment. So you started searching about uh, how strong is the association between diabetes and tuberculosis treatment. Then you refined it to see that how many diabetic patients actually converted their sputum after 3 months. Okay, so you started blindly with GB, and then finally you reached and refined a research topic as what is the association between glycemic status of the individual and sputum conversion at the end of 2 months. Okay, so so now you are at the next level. So now you're finalized on a topic. Now you have to write an introduction and review of literature. So what to write in introduction, what to write in a review of literature, I'll include in the last 2 slides. But to write that introduction and to write the review of literature, you need to search. Okay, so that is the third reason why you should use literature search. And the fourth one is to know the variables needed to calculate sample size. You will have a session on sample size, and in that sample size calculation class, I am going to tell you this is the formula to use, but in that formula there is one thing you have to go to the literature and find out. So you will obviously going and searching for that particular thing which is needed for sample size. So at the end of this slide, I want to tell you that, see, that's the beauty of Moodle. This session is going to be recorded and it is going to be there in Moodle. So after you finish all the sessions, before you start searching literature, or if not possible, before you start writing the protocol, if you have time, I want you to listen to my presentation once more. Then it will make more sense to you what I'm talking about. Okay, sometimes I think it may go a little over your head, but if you listen to it after all the Moodle sessions are over, then you might find this, or you understand this a little better. So these are the 4 reasons why a JR1 should search literature. If you are at square 1, to find a research topic. Once you have found a research topic, to refine the research topic, to write an introduction and review of literature in your protocol, and finally to know the variables which are needed to calculate the sample size. Okay. So this is a little jargon. Okay, try reading this. Take 1 minute and try reading this. There will be a lot of things which may be unfamiliar to you, but I'll explain to you. This is like, if you want to write an editorial, you should have published many original research articles in peer-reviewed index journals with high impact factor and be a contributor of Cochrane and cited many times. Okay. So we are I can understand this. Okay, maybe Sairu ma'am can understand. No, not maybe. Sairu ma'am will understand it. Devraj will understand it. But this may all sound Greek and Latin to you. So I'm going to introduce to this simple simple terminologies as to what each thing means. Okay. So what is a scientific paper? A scientific paper simply means a paper which is written by a scholar for reading by other experts. Okay, so it's just something that somebody has written for others to read. That is all a scientific paper means. But original research article means that the researcher has gone and done some research, and he is publishing the findings for the whole world to know, whole scientific world to know for the first time. So that is an original research article. So, okay, nobody had thought of it. Somebody had an idea. They tried it out. They did it, and they are writing it down for all of us to read. So that is an original research article. Then what is a review article? A review article is, I have done some research in TB and diabetes. Devraj has done some another study. Sairu madam has done another study. So another person in reads about all these things, assimilates all that is there in that, and writes an article. There is no original research in that. Okay, it's a review of all the things which has been already published. This is also called a narrative review. Why I'm saying narrative review is that when you start searching, you will find something called systematic review. Okay, systematic review may be a little over your head, but then systematic review is you are systematically searching the literature and publishing it as a paper. Okay, so it is slightly different from a narrative review, but you will come across systematic review. When you come across systematic review, understand that systematic review is a compilation of many research articles done on the same subject. It is a very systematically and scientifically collected set of articles, uh, information or outcomes of different research articles are published. So that is systematic review. Theoretical article, you need not know about it. So then you should know about certain databases. Cochrane is the most famous one. If an article is published in Cochrane, that means it's a very good article. So there are, like, no, you go and buy Levi jeans, you know that it is of certain quality. So quality assured. So you buy a Boss speaker, that means there is certain quality assured. You buy a MacBook, there is a certain quality assured. Like that, if you get an article which is published in Cochrane, it means that it has gone through a certain screening procedures, and it is very highly likely to be very good. So there are uh, lots of databases like that. Cochrane is just one. Then there is Elsevier, there is Embase. So uh, uh, these are all standard databases for finding journal articles. Then what is an index journal? Okay, so index journal simply means it's a list of qualified journals. Okay, that means to enhance. So you go and search. You read a research article. You don't know whether this is a good article or not. You read it, but by reading it, you can judge it to some extent. But indexing is another way of. I'll put it this way. It is a collection. It's a list of articles. Okay, so anybody can publish a list of articles. But then, uh, for example, there is an Indian index called Expedite. Okay, or there is index Copernicus. Then there is another called Embase. So what happens is that if you are in a certain set of index, you can, again, quality is assured. So it's a list of qualified journals. So just because something is indexed, it doesn't mean that it is good. You have to find out which list it belongs to, whether it belongs to Index Copernicus or Index Medicus, like that. I think I'm a little vague in that. Anyway, just understand that it is just a list of journals. Different people publish different list of journals, but there are certain accepted list of journals. Then what is peer reviewed? Peer reviewed journal means I publish an article and I think it is good. But that doesn't mean that it is good. Somebody else, the scientific community, the other scientists or other experts in this in the field should read that article and say that this is good enough. Only then it gets published. So I did a study and I sent it to a journal. The journal has a set of reviewers. The journal has an editor. The editor reads it. If it is good enough, he will send it to the reviewers. The reviewers will also read it, and then the reviewers will say that this is good enough, go ahead, publish it. Or the reviewers say this is not good enough, it should be discarded. Or the reviews. So every article which is published goes through these procedures, and only after this reviewing process by a set of reviewers who are experts in the field will an article get published. So peer reviewed means you have published something, but another set of experts have gone through it and given their endorsement. Okay. Reviewing means critically reading it and marking it objectively. Okay. So peer review is that. So when you say peer reviewed indexed journal means a set of reviewers has gone through it and they have approved it and then published in that. And that journal, that Indian Journal of Community Medicine, Indian Journal of Ophthalmology, is you can find in a list of journals. You can find that journal in a approved list of journals. What is a citation? Okay, when you quote study A, the study is A. I have done a study, the study is A. From journal, no, I have not done I have done a study A and I have published it in journal X. Okay, somebody else quotes my finding from study A from journal X when they are writing a paper. Okay, and then they include my study in the references. That is called a citation. See, I did a study in diabetes and TB, and I said that there is a very strong association between glycemic status and sputum conversion at the end of 2 months. And I published it in journal X. Okay, when Devaraj is studying diabetes and TB, when he is writing the introduction, he will cite me and say that Dr. Anuba did a study in Kottayam in 2010 and found that there is a strong association between diabetes mellitus and TB. He writes it in his introduction. That is called citation. His introduction of his article, not the proposal. Okay. So when you quote somebody else's study, that is called citation. What is an impact factor? Okay. So Salim Yusuf is the NCD researcher globally. Okay. He is the one who studies risk factors. He is the one who studies treatment. Dr. Salim Yusuf is from India, but he is a major researcher. The last word in non-communicable disease, last word in coronary artery disease is Dr. Salim Yusuf. Salim Yusuf did a famous study called Inter-Heart study. Okay. So Inter-Heart study is a very good study on risk factors of coronary artery disease. So whoever does a study on coronary artery disease will always cite Salim Yusuf. Okay. So his study will get lots of citation. So Inter-Heart study has been cited by so many authors that it has been cited by so many authors that the journal in which Salim Yusuf's Inter-Heart study got published, the impact of that is very high. Okay. So, okay, the impact of that journal is very high. So the impact factor of a journal, how is it decided? Impact factor of a journal is decided this way. Okay. The Lancet publishes a study on NCD, okay, in 2010. During the period 2010 to 2020, whoever did a study on NCD quotes studies which are published in Lancet. So the impact of that Lancet increases. So impact factor simply means that how reputed your journal is, how much people are reading it, finding it good, and citing the findings in that journal in their articles. Okay, so more citations mean more art. So that is how impact factor is decided. But if you start, when you start learn searching the literature, you will find a lot of fake impact factors. Okay, you should understand that a reasonably good journal, okay, reasonably good journal will have an impact factor of only 1. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, yes, you are audible, ma'am. Continue.
Okay. Okay. In, uh, impact factor, when you don't get moved by impact factors like 70 and 60, those are fake impact factors. Okay. Very good journals. Lancet has an impact factor of around 20. The journal with the most highest impact factor is NEJM. Okay. So the articles, the journals that you are likely to quote in your project, in your thesis protocol, is likely to have an impact factor of around 3. So who decides this impact factor? There are an accepted impact factor is the one published by Reuters. Okay, so don't get carried away by fake impact factors. If you find an impact factor like 30 and 40 for an Indian journal, just understand that it is a fake impact factor. So why you should know about impact factor is, when you're doing your review of literature, you should look at the journal and you should go and click and find out what is the impact factor of that journal I am quoting from. How can you do that? You go to the journal website. Every journal website will tell you the impact factor of that journal. Okay, every good standard journal website will tell you what is the impact factor. Okay, so impact factor of the journal will tell you whether this is a good research article, whether it's peer reviewed and all that. Then what is medical subject heading? I am sure that Devraj's session will have something on mesh. Is it there, Devraj? But I'll just
Yeah,
introduce
ma'am,
mesh
it's
to
there,
them.
it's there.
Do you have something on mesh?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
mesh is the language of PubMed. Okay, suppose you are going to Bangalore and you are asking for directions. In which language, if you ask in Kannada, you will get better directions to a place. Suppose you ask in Hindi, you will get directions but not as good as Kannada. Okay, so when you are asking the search engine, or when you are asking the index for an article, if you ask in their language, they will give you a better answer. So I call it the language of PubMed. Okay, so suppose you're talking about malignancy. Malignancy may be called by different people in different names. Some may call it cancer, some may be called, some in some articles it will be referenced as tumors, some maybe it is lesions. Okay, so you're studying thyroid cancer. So thyroid cancer, maybe different people must have used different terms while referring to this. So, but PubMed has a language. In PubMed, what is thyroid cancer called? So you have to find that particular word, that is called a medical subject heading. And then if you use that while searching, PubMed will give you faster and better answers. Okay, that is a mesh. Then what are predatory journals? Now you know that for publication has become a big business. Pharma companies, it is needed for promotion. So everybody, it has become a big business that people are all starting new journals. Okay. So these are not of any quality. These are not standard. There is no peer review, and usually they charge a very high amount for publishing. So you are very likely to, when you start searching, you will come across a lot of predatory journals. The articles which are published in the predatory journal will be of no use. It may be fake. It may be totally false. Okay, so predatory journal is a set of blacklisted journals, open access, who charge for publication who are, I wouldn't say all those who charge for publication of predatory journals, but they are there in the business only to charge people and not authentic. So you naturally the question will arise: how will I identify a predatory journal? Okay, you, I know that you are all very good at online shopping and all that. And then when you go and buy something online, you have the website or the way they have presented will tell you something. This is a fake seller or this is of not good quality. Okay, so some tips like wrong English. Okay, no address, very colorful page. So there is nothing like if this is there, it is a predatory journal, and if this is there, it's a correct journal, because they can give you a fake impact factor and they can say that we are there in Index Medicus and PubMed, we are there listed in PubMed and all that. But I can't say that this will tell you it is a predatory journal, but I think you all being very tech savvy and you all being online shopping and all that, there will be a lot of clues in their website or communications you make with them, if at all, that telling that it is a predatory journal. Otherwise, there is no way to know it is a predatory journal. Earlier, there was a list called the Beale's list of predatory journals, but then Mr. Beale had to face so many legal ramifications of publishing such a list of predatory journals. He withdrew that list. So it is no longer available. So it is just your feeling, your sense. You have to figure it out whether it is a predatory journal or no. One tip I can tell you is that if they give you a very high impact factor, higher or as par with NAJM and Lancet and all, you can automatically realize that it's not an authentic journal. Okay. Then what is a senior author and corresponding author? When you look at an article, you should always look at who has written it. Okay, why I am telling you who the corresponding author is in this session is that, suppose you searched and you found an abstract. You're very much interested in reading that article, okay? But you don't have a free copy of it. You have to pay $100 to access it, or your library doesn't have that. Okay, so if most of the corresponding author is a person in that list of authors who corresponds to anybody. Corresponds means communicates with anybody regarding anything which is written or related to that article. Okay. So if I have published something and if I am corresponding author, if I want to ask something about that article, you have to ask me. You can't ask the rest of the authors. So that is a corresponding author. Corresponding author is the person who communicates. The communicating author is the corresponding author. Suppose you have an article which you are in and you're really interested in it, you can always send a mail to the corresponding author and tell them that I am a junior resident at Government Medical College, Alappuzha. I am greatly interested in having a look at your study. If you can quote why you are interested in the study. For example, I'm very interested in the questionnaire that you used, otherwise, or I'm very interested in the methodology that you have used. And will you please share that article with me? Most of the corresponding authors will reply. Of course, the reason is very simple. When somebody shows some interest in your journal, you automatically feel happy and send it. That is one reason. But most of the time they respond. Sometimes they don't. But then corresponding author is a person that you need to communicate with. Okay. Other authors will be there. There will be a first author who is usually the person who has if your thesis get published, you are going to be the first author. So I'm telling you in advance who has that if any thesis is published, the postgraduate student who's doing the study should be the first author. Okay, so you are all already first authors of your thesis. Now I'll come to the part where I tell you how to write an introduction. What is an introduction? I told as a JR1, when you have finalized the topic, the reason why you should do literature search is because you want to write an introduction. So introduction is when you write introduction, you have to answer these questions. Why did I choose the study? Why did I decide on TB and diabetes? So what could be the reason? It's a very simple reason. TB is there a lot. Diabetes is also there a lot. Okay, when TB and diabetes come together, it creates lots of problems. Okay, one of the problems is a delay in sputum conversion. So I wanted to find out whether there is any connection between the sputum conversion and glycemic status. So what? So what? So what can you do? Okay, if I find a connection between the glycemic status and sputum conversion, I can tell the whoever is treating the diabetic patients to ensure strict diabetic control so that they convert their sputum at the end of 2 months. So what? So what is the use? Okay, if they convert sputum after 2 months, you can reduce the cost of treatment. The patient is happy, the doctor is happy, the government is happy, WHO is happy. Okay. So you must have noticed that I asked lot of questions. So what? So what? In Malayalam, we'll say adundenda. So I start writing by saying this. TB is a big problem. Okay. TB is a big problem. Why do you think it's a big problem? This is the prevalence of TB in India. This is the incidence of new cases in TB in India. Okay, fine. So what? TB and diabetes exist together a lot. So what? Okay. But TB and diabetes, when it comes together, it's a big problem. So what? So they start, the gluten conversion is delayed. So what? It extends the treatment, it increases the cost a lot. So why are you doing this? So I want to find whether there is an association between glycemic status and sputum conversion. So what, at the end of the study, what is going to be the use? Okay, if I find an association, I can tell that you have to have strict diabetic control. So it is like a story. You are selling your thesis. You are selling your research topic. So that at the end of the day, the scientific committee is so impressed that they will feel that at the end, this postgraduate is going to do the study and come out with an association. And then all on a sudden, all diabetic patients will get treated and they will all get better. So everybody is happy. So introduction is basically selling your research topic. And when you're writing the introduction, after every sentence, you should ask, so what? Okay. So at the end of it, the last answer is, so I am going to study the association between glycemic status and sputum conversion. That is the answer to the last so what. So what is that? That is your objective. So the last line of your introduction is actually your objective, but in a proposal, you have to write it in a separate heading. Okay. So introduction will have these things. Why I want to study TB? What is already known about it? What are the gaps? No, everybody knows that they coexist. Everybody knows that sputum conversion is delayed, but nobody really knows how strong is the association. People have already studied and found that there is some connection, but how strong, that you have to say in terms of odds ratio. Okay, that you will understand from the rest of the class. Everybody has said that there is some connection is there, but nobody has like said this is the connection. It is 2 is the odds ratio, 4 is the odds ratio. Nobody has said that. So there is a gap in that. Okay. So what is already known? What more do you need? So what are you going to do about it? What is your proposal going to do about it to fill the gap? That is what is there should be in an introduction. What are the common errors that come in introduction? So okay, we are in such a hurry that we put things which are needed to be put in review of literature also into introduction. Okay, it is a new topic, you're so interested, so you put too much into introduction. If you can give it to your husband or your wife, then they are a non-medical person, they should read your introduction and understand it. Introduction should be that simple. Okay, I'm telling you, if my husband is a software engineer and I give my introduction for him to read, even with no medical background, he should be able to understand your introduction. It should be that simple. Don't oversimplify it, but it should be that simple. Okay. So don't put too many literature into it, and don't put too many ideas into it. Okay. You are only interested in TB, diabetes, sputum conversion, glycemic status, connection. Okay. You are not interested in TB. You are not interested in latent TB. You are not interested in other things. You're only interested in this. You are only focused on one idea. What is that one idea? Glycemic status and sputum conversion. Okay. Then another thing is that not going from general to particular. Okay. What did I start from? I started from by saying that TB is a big problem. That is a very general topic. TB is a big problem. That's a statement. This many people get TB. And what did I narrow it to? I narrowed it to what is the association between glycemic status and sputum conversion. So your introduction should be going from a very general statement to a very particular statement, which is likely to be your objective. And when you are writing an introduction, make sure that you don't write any outdated information. Everything in introduction should be very latest, updated. So Devraj will tell you, probably tell you by how to use a filter and find all the latest information. Then another common thing is that you write about lots of things about TB and glycemic status and sputum conversion and all that, but you don't identify a very specific gap. So here, what is the very specific gap I've identified? People know that there is an association between glycemic status and sputum conversion, but they don't know what is the odds ratio. They know there is an association, but they don't know what is the odds ratio. So it's a very specific gap that I have found out. And not bringing out the rationale, or I would say not bringing out the usefulness of the study. So that should be there in the introduction. At the end of the study, if you find an odds ratio between glycemic status and sputum conversion, so who is it going to help? How is it going to help the patient? How is it going to help the clinician? How is it going to help the health system? All these should be brought out in the introduction. Okay. Then there is something called review of literature. Review of literature is like, I would say that introduction, your non-medical spouse would be able to understand, but review of literature, he or she may not be able to understand. Why is it so? Review of literature, you are going to very specific things. Okay. So what I generally say is called the rule of 5. Okay. You choose a topic and you do a lot of searching and you find that in care, suppose I am trying to study the association between thyroiditis and, okay, I'm just trying to find the prevalence of thyroid disorders in Kerala. Okay, I should have an idea which are the 5 landmark papers on thyroid which has come about Kerala population which has come out in the last 5 years. Okay. Okay, so I will say, what are the most cited papers? Which are the, how do you decide whether something is a landmark paper? If it is published in Lancet, if it's published in Indian Journal of Tuberculosis, it is a landmark paper. In Indian Journal of Endocrinology, it is a reasonably good journal. So what are the 5 landmark papers which has come out about thyroid prevalence from Kerala in the last 5 years? My review should contain that. Okay. 5 institutes. Suppose I am trying to do a study in TB. I should try and find out which are the institutes in India which are focusing on TB research. So it could be National Tuberculosis Institute. It could be All India Institute of Medical Sciences. It could be PGI Chandigarh. If I am doing something on tobacco cessation, Sairu madam will know, Achyuta Menon Institute, Sri Chitra has come out with a lot of articles on tobacco cessation. Okay, so which are the, see, I would reduce the rule of 5 into rule of 2 for a thesis proposal. Okay, at least 2 institutes which have done good studies should be quoted in your review of literature. 5 researchers, like I said, if you have a, if you're writing a proposal on NCD risk factors or coronary artery risk factors, you must quote Salim Yusuf. Okay. So if you're doing something on, if you're a psychiatric patient, psychiatry postgraduate and you're doing a study, you should have some one article by Vikram Patel. Okay. So don't get flustered by all these names. I have been doing research and teaching research for the past 12 years. So I know who Vikram Patel is and I know who Salim Yusuf is. Okay. But you should be able to get comfortable with your topic to such an extent that at the end of the day, you should be able to say, oh, this person from Amrita has done this paper, this in 2014. It's a very good paper. Or somebody from AIMS has done published 3 papers. Okay, so 2 researchers. Then you should go to, suppose you are a pulmonology national conferences on pulmonology or state conference in pulmonology, go through the brochure and see if there is an article on anything to do with diabetes mellitus and tuberculosis in that pulmonology conference proceedings. You should quote that. You understand? And 5 important books. Suppose you are a medicine PG and you are studying thyroid disease or thyroiditis. Okay, Harrison should be referred because Harrison is your standard textbook. Okay, so when you are writing a review of literature, you can I might say I will shift it to rule of 2 instead of rule of 5. You should have quoted 2 landmark papers, 2 institutes, 2 researchers, 2 conference proceedings, and 2 important books. So this is how you should write your review of literature, and introduction I've already mentioned. Okay, I think that is the end of my presentation. Devraj,